In today's show, let's talk about the Blazers' big win over the Clippers. Damian Lillard shooting better, but not busting out of his slump, and a Blazers defense that looks pretty darn good through 5 games. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Blazer beat writer Mike Richmond. Listen to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts, and also now on YouTube, where we did it, y'all. We made it to 1,000 subscribers by Halloween. If you have subscribed, thank you. It was my stated goal. We started this basically at the beginning of the month. I think I started on the last week of September, so we're a little over a month, basically 5 weeks in. I wanted to get to 1,000 by Halloween. I wanted to get to 1,000 in the first month. I knew we could get there, but I couldn't have done it. The we couldn't exist if you didn't do it. So thank you so much for subscribing to the show. I appreciate it. Continue to do so if you haven't already. We're going to post videos every week or every day of the week. Plus, like this one, a bonus one because the Blazers played on a Friday night. So you're getting a little mini bonus episode recapping a fun win over the Clippers. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about the Dame's busted out of a shooting slump, although he says he didn't fully bust out. The Blazers defense looked a little bit better, and the Blazers got a big win, mini revenge over what happened on Monday against the Clippers. So let's talk about all of those things. But first, the fastest recap in the West. The Blazers win 111-92. This game was, the Blazers played, looks like, they were seizing control early, but they didn't really pull away, only up 1 after the first quarter, but a dominant defensive second quarter, including a really nice start to the second quarter, held the Clippers to just 16 points in the second quarter and 40 in the first half. But they didn't close the half well. And instead of being up 14 heading into the break, they were only up 8. Paul George got some late buckets to keep the Clippers in this one. Third quarter, the Blazers, again, looks like they might pull away, up by 20 when CJ McCollum hits a three-pointer in the corner midway through the quarter. But what do the Clippers do? They come roaring back on a 17-2 run, finally stop a right wing three from Nazir Little. But the Clippers couldn't get all the way back. As much as they charged, they couldn't come all the way back. The Blazers closed the door in the fourth quarter, and with 3 minutes left in the game, everybody pulled their starters, and that was that. We had 3 minutes and 12 seconds of garbage time. The Blazers win 111-92. That's your fastest recap in the West. Let's get into the nitty-gritty details. Damian Lillard busted out of his slump. Or did he? After really struggling with his shot over the first 4 games of the season, he hit six total threes in the first 4 games. Damian Lillard, 5 of 7 from 3 in this one, a team high 25 points. He was 9 for 17 from the floor. Still didn't have like this sort of monster game. More on that in a moment, but Dame was good in this one. Blazers also got a nice night from Yusuf Nurkic, who missed a bunch of bunnies at the rim, as he is wont to do, but still finished with 14 points and 17 boards. Norman Powell returned from an injury. He had missed the past 2 games with a patellar tendon strain in his left knee, and he came back. He had 12 points, hit 4 3-pointers. Dude can really shoot it. It was good to see him back there. Blazers didn't get the bench boost from Anthony Simons. Had his worst shooting night of the season, 2 for 11 and 1 for 7 from deep, but did get a really nice performance, 9 points and 7 boards from Cody Zeller off the bench. I thought Zeller was the Blazers' best center in the first half. Let's talk a little about Dame, though. That's what I want to talk about. Paul George had 42 for the Clippers. Blazers had no answer for him. We'll talk about that in the second segment. But let's start here with Dame. He made shots. This was not a parade. I said after the last, on Wednesday night, he had 3 threes in 1 quarter. He had 11 points in the third quarter, and it kind of felt like, oh, thank goodness. But he was just like, he played well. It wasn't special. He just played a little bit better. This one was, This was more Dame, right? He had a couple step backs. He fought through. They were playing pressure defense on him, and he moved off the ball, and then he did like sort of just matchup hunting stuff to get himself to dribble into some threes. He hit step backs from both sides of the court. Like he hit 5 threes. He looked a lot like the sort of elite 3-point shooter that he is, and he hit threes when they mattered down the stretch to kind of just push the lead, make sure the Blazers could win this one going away after it looked like maybe they were going to squander a 20-point lead and end up losing to the Clippers, but they didn't because he wouldn't let him. Prior to the game, Chauncey Billups said that that Dame's like a ticking time bomb. It's just a matter of time. And then after the game, reporters, myself, and my colleagues at the arena said, Dame, is it? Is this done? And here's what Dame had to say. The first question you're going to hear is from Andy Peterson of the Associated Press asking Dame if he feels like he's out of his shooting slump. And then you'll hear a question from me related to the ticking time bomb.
I would say it's definitely trending out. I shot the ball well tonight. It was still some shots that I missed that I felt like I should have made, but I shot the ball well tonight. I had a stretch in the third quarter of last game, and I just got to keep going in that direction. You know what I'm saying? To me, I think when I come out of it, I feel like it's going to be loud. Usually when when I shoot the ball poorly over a stretch, it's loud when I come out of that. And, I never know when that's going to happen, but I just know myself, and I know my history, and I know the patterns of my game and my career. And when I play well and don't shoot well, when it click and when I do start to see the ball go in like consistently and I make a good shot and I make a tough one, I know what that looks like, and everybody here knows what that looks like. So I just got to keep doing what I do and being me. And, I know what the result is going to be.
Chauncey said, one last question. Chauncey said before the game that you were kind of like a ticking time bomb. He was just kind of waiting for it. So you're saying this wasn't the bomb?
No. I mean, you've been around here long enough to know.
Pretty well, man. I really have.
Tonight was a good shooting game, but I'm saying you've been around long enough to know, like, what it looked like, So tonight was I thought I played a good game and I shot well, but I don't think this was me coming out of it completely. You know what I mean?
So there you have it. Dame doesn't think the slump's over. Dame thinks it's going to be loud. Dame thinks when the bomb goes off, you're going to hear it. This was just a good he played well and shot well, but this was not an explosion. This wasn't a slump buster. This was a guy who's one of the best players in the NBA playing like one of the best players on the court. That's all it was to Dame. This was not like I said, no parade. If you were looking for streamers and fireworks, this was just Damian Lillard. This was a day at work for him. This was a day at work. This was hard hat and boots. Like this wasn't a celebration. This wasn't a statement. This wasn't emphatic. This was from his perspective and for the most part for mine as well, that this was just him taking care of business. TCB, your boy, like Elvis's jet. He was good, but he wasn't great. He wasn't that moment. He wasn't those moments you've seen when he's just spectacular. And as he said, you've been around long enough to know, and I have been around long enough to know. I know that wasn't that. He was good, but he wasn't wild. So I'm looking forward to wild. Appreciate, celebrate, hold on to your joy. Damian Lillard is such a special and fun basketball player. Enjoy it. But the big one, when the levee breaks, the big one is still coming. And I think we won't have to debate. We won't have to have a segment. Is Dame back? Is the slump over? He says, do we say yes? He says no. But like, it's here. Or we'll know when it's here, rather. Like, this might not have been it. We will know. You better believe it. Because, he just has those sort of like 11 for 16 from 3 games in him, 42 points and a game winner and a wrist tap and a snarl and all those things. This was a man at work, and he took care of business. Taking care of business is kind of the theme of this game, though. The Blazers were good, and they beat the Clippers are are scuffling. They have not been good to start the season. They're 1-4. And their one win was just beating the snot out of the Blazers on Monday. So the Blazers exacted a little revenge there. But this Clippers team is talented. They're missing Serge Ibaka. They're not going to have Kawhi Leonard for the whole year, and they're missing Marcus Morris. Marcus Morris really helps them kind of play small and play their identity and have another elite shooter on the court. He really, he'll help them when he's back. But this is still a pretty good team. Even if they've dropped a couple close games, and then they had a stinker against the Cavs. But like this was a good win over a talented team. I'm not sure this is, the Clippers, maybe they'll make the playoffs after this start, but also the Mavs look kind of messy too. So the West is a little bit weird. So this is a good win over a good team. Don't throw it back. Don't give it away. You do not have to apologize for wins. You don't have to apologize for wins that the Blazers look good in too. Speaking of looking good, in the second segment, I want to talk about the defense. The Blazers have a little something cooking on defense. They look competent. They look like they can. This looks like a sustainable level of defense. And that's what I want to talk about. That sustainable level of defense, but also Paul George going for 42. I think you can say both. So let's kind of dive into what both looks like in the second segment. But first, let me tell you all about McDonald's. McDonald's been proudly serving community since 1965. It's always been more than just a place to get tasty and affordable food. It's a place where friends and family can come and reconnect. It's a place where classmates can meet up for study group, knowing they'll have dependable Wi-Fi and an endless supply of French fries and McFlurries. So win or lose, it's a place where teammates, competitors, the home team, the away team, everybody can come together to recharge. It's a place to look forward to stopping on a long road trip so you can rest your legs and refuel. McDonald's has been a classic road trip spot for me. A road trip with some pals up to Seattle. We went to the San Juan Islands. We came back from the San Juan Islands, and let's just say we were in need of some food in the morning on our way home from palling around in the San Juans, and McDonald's saved us on a long trip back. So whether you're refueling in need of some morning delights to kind of get you through the day, or whether you're just looking to refuel or reconnect, why don't you head over to McDonald's? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. All right. Welcome back to a bonus edition of Locked On Blazers. Look, we already did 5 episodes this week because we do 5 episodes every week. It is a free daily podcast wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. So make sure you're making this your first listen every day. Make it a part of your routine. Wake up in the morning and pop in the podcast. It's 30 minutes. It's quick hitting. It's free, and you can get it wherever you want it. So make Locked On Blazers part of your day. Make it your first listen. Also, shout out to the listener who yelled at me in the Moda Center and said that they watch on YouTube every single night. Make it a part of your night, whatever it is. Make Locked On Blazers part of your routine. I didn't get that dear listener's name because it's with masks and how loud it is in the arena. It's hard to kind of connect, but shout out to you. Thanks for your kind words. I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot to have people appreciate the show. I love the community we're building here. So thanks for being a part of it. We talked about Dame going nuts. He's not breaking out. He didn't call it a breakout. It was just another day at work. You'll know when you see it. Another thing I want to talk about here is Blazers defense. It looks good. The Blazers basically had an answer for everything that the Clippers did except for Paul George. And I think those two things are related. I really like the sort of energy the Blazers are playing with on defense. I think they are being attentive to what they need to do. I think they're being physical at the point of attack. They're not always keeping guys out of the lane, but I think they're dialed in there. It's not perfect. And I think tonight's game is a perfect example of the imperfections. The Blazers don't have anyone to guard big wings. So Paul George went ahead and took advantage of that. Had 42 points on 15 of 24 shooting, hit 6 of 9 3-pointers. But the Blazers didn't let the rest of the Clippers get loose. There was no crazy Luke Kennard breakout. He was their second leading scorer with 16, but he didn't go nuts. Terrence Mann didn't punish this team. Batum and Zubac and Hartenstein, who had really good games in that meeting on Monday when the Blazers lost by 30. They didn't get going. Reggie Jackson, who hasn't played particularly well to start the season, was 3 of 12 with 8 points. Like this is a sort of perfect example of the Blazers, what I think is both their like promising signs about their defense and their defensive ceiling. They were good on defense. I thought Nurk had a solid and physical defensive game. I thought, I thought there were moments when you saw the defense rotations be smart and sharp. They just don't have the personnel to guard big star, all-star wings. Paul George is one of the best players in the league. There aren't a lot of dudes built like him, 6'9", who can really shoot and handle and get, and create and get their own shot. But there are a handful of these gentlemen in the league. Like there are some stars that are built, the Luka Doncic, LeBron James crowd. That's like, throw Zach LaVine or Jason Tatum in there too, although like clearly a tier down from those other guys. But like, it's the Blazers don't have that. Robert Covington competed his ass off, but he couldn't check Paul George to save his life. I don't think Rocco played bad. I don't think that's what Rocco does well. Putting him as a point of attack defender on a high level wing is not what he does well. But the rest of the Blazers defense was there and it was able to prevent runs. And I'm not saying like, oh, it'll work because you just give up 45 and hold everyone down. I'm saying both can be true. I think the Blazers are taking strides on defense in terms of being smart, in terms of being effective. I thought they crowded shooters well. I thought they made it hard on every non-Clipper. And I thought they made it hard sometimes on Paul George, and he just made shots because he's really good. And then they just don't have other options. You could say like put Nazir Little on him, but Nazir Little's just not ready for that. In theory, hopefully, January, February, March, you can start to give Nazir more minutes on there, but you weren't going to stick Nas on there for 30 minutes and have anything else different happen. Like Rocco was a better option. Norm coming back from a knee injury, he's a little smaller too. You need size on Paul George is a big thing. He's shot over the top of Dame a couple times on switch. It's just like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? And nothing, because he's big. That's the thing. Like I thought as a team and schematically, the Blazers were good on defense. And then they meet this guy, this type of thing. And it's like, oh, they probably can't handle something like that. Now, the thing about good players, LeBron and Luka and Paul George, like, they're good and big and special for a reason. Like being 6'8" and being able to handle and so strong and be able to shoot, like, that's why these players are very good. I've missed Kevin Durant when I've been talking about this too. Like, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I guess I didn't get to the Eastern Conference, but like, there's a reason why these dudes are stars. In the same way, it's hard to guard Damian Lillard, but I mean, the size thing is just, it's an issue. And I think that you saw both what the Blazers can be, like a 40-point, Paul George had 22 of the Clippers 40 in the first half. That's an awesome defensive half, but they didn't have an answer for Paul George. Like both things can be true simultaneously, I think. And I think that's what we saw. So I think there's reason to continue to be impressed with the Blazers defense. I asked Chauncey Billups after the game if he thought the defense was ahead of the offense, and he said, yeah. And part is because, and he doesn't worry about that because like the buy-in is to get this team to be where they need to be on defense and then just use their strengths. If you got Norm and CJ and Dame and Ant and whatever you're going to get out of the center spot with Nurk and Cody Zeller, like you're going to be a really good offensive team, but their path to being a very good, a team that can get where they want to go, the Western Conference Finals, they need to be a really good defensive team. So having the defense be sort of ahead of where the offense is, because the offense still occasionally looks like a little bit of a slog, like has some trouble generating easy buckets. Having the defense be there, being tough to play against is the identity this team wants to form. And I thought they took a step in the right direction while showing their warts. I thought this was a good game to kind of understand what this team is. They are an improving team, but everyone has their limitations, so you got to figure out how to play within those limitations. The Blazers, if they're going to play the big star wings in this league, don't have the personnel to really guard them. They're going to have to do it as a team, or they're going to have to do what they did tonight, which is say nobody else. PG can get his, but nobody else, and we think our offense can be good enough to carry us beyond that. They won this game outright and took it from them. Paul George couldn't be a one-man band. I would say I would hang the mission accomplished banner on this. This was good news. They played well. They played well. Paul George also played very well. let's close the show. Come back and close the show. Talk a little about the road trip coming up. The Blazers play a 3-game road trip next week, and then they come back for a back-to-back. It is a loaded week of games. And next time I talk to you in this space, they will have played the Philadelphia 76ers. So let's do a little mini preview of the road trip to come for the Blazers. But before we do that, let's talk about Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the market. That's what they're doing. They're making delicious Built Bars. So go get yourself some, because you're going to find a flavor you like. Like, you don't have to, you're not going to, if you're interested in a delicious chocolate covered candy bar texture protein bar, you're going to find a flavor you like. Super chocolate flavors, the fruity flavors, some fun seasonal flavors, whatever it is, there's something to fit your palate. Plus 17 to 18 grams of protein, only 130 to 180 calories, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and just 5 grams of net carbs. All tasty, all healthy. Go get yourself some. Built.com. Use the promo code locked15 is the promo code, and you will get 15% off your order. That's built.com for 15% off when you use the promo code locked15. Today's show is also brought to you by BetOnline.ag, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Simple as that. It's basketball season, so you can go bet on NBA games every single night with live odds, props on every game, contests all weekend long. If you don't want to bet on basketball, you can bet on football, because they got the same thing going for college football. They got the same thing going for the NFL. So that is pretty much every day of the week, you'll find something. If you don't want to bet on that, you can bet on soccer here and abroad. You can bet on combat sports like boxing and MMA. You can bet on baseball. It's the final games of the World Series. You can bet on the NHL. You can play your favorite Vegas casino games, whatever it is. Go to betonline.ag right now. Use the promo code locked on, and you will get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. It's a 50% welcome bonus when you use the promo code locked on at betonline.ag. That's BetOnline, where the games start. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. Still listening to Locked On Blazers. Listen, we talked about Dame. It ain't a shoot. Listen, that wasn't the bomb. The bomb's still going to go off. We talked about the Blazers defense. Good, but you saw the deal. To close out this bonus episode, our sixth episode of the week, I want to talk a little about the road trip. The Blazers have one loss, a 30-point beatdown on the road. The next test for this team is whether they can be a good road team. And as it turns out, before the break, I misspoke. They're not going to play the Sixers on Sunday, because they start the road trip in Charlotte against the Charlotte Hornets, Halloween, a 4 p.m. tip-off, then a back-to-back. Sixers Monday night, second night of a back-to-back, Wednesday at Cleveland, and then they come home to play home games against the Indiana Pacers Friday, and then Saturday against the Los Angeles Lakers, a fascinatingly mediocre team. Are they really good and going to figure it out, or are they bad? Can't wait to see. But we've got 4 games between then. Here's sort of your basic preview. The Hornets play fast. They play fast. They're not afraid to go small. They will start big with Mason Plumlee, but they'll play a ton of minutes with PJ Washington at the 5. They're going to play small, and they're going to run. Miles Bridges is a breakout star this year. He's been really good. Eastern Conference Player of the Week the first week of the season, and he was on a tear to close the year. He started back. LaMelo Ball's a star. Like, this team wants to play fast, and they're tough, and they still run a lot of late game offense through Gordon Hayward. That's your mini preview of the game, right? If I did the fastest recap in the West, that's your fastest preview in the West. But the real question for me is, does it travel? The Blazers at home have had the juice to come back from an 18-point deficit against the Kings on a night where their best player shot 0 for 9 from 3. They've had the juice to beat the snot out of in the rest advantage games against the Suns, but they didn't let the Suns hang around. They just crushed that team. The game was over with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Crushed them. They had the sort of the rhythm, or whatever you want to call it, to now win back-to-back games, coming off a 30-point loss. But that 30-point loss on the road, they did not bring it. Energy-wise, execution-wise, whatever. They just did not bring it. And so, is this team the team that, had an impressive win over the Grizzlies and an impressive win over the Clippers, or are the road Blazers something else? And I think this is a great test. Home road splits are real. Almost every team in the league is better at home than they are on the road, except for weird anomalies every year. it's just hard to bring that same juice. It's hard to bring that same energy. And I think this first road trip with a back-to-back and 3 games in 4 nights is a really good early season test to see where this team is at. Right now, I think you got to feel good about where they're at, right? Like they're 3-2, but they're like, they look pretty good. Like they're the sort of like things you want, the boxes you wanted them to check. Are Nazir Little and Anthony Simons contributors? Yes. Do Cody Zeller and Larry Nance help off the bench? Yes. Does the starting lineup still make sense and look good? For the most part, yes, except Dame has missed a lot of shots. Like, and can they improve on defense? I think that was like a bigger question. Yes, they look like they're taking steps in the right direction. Does it travel? That's the question. And they got a chance to play the Hornets on Sunday night, turn around and play a really good Sixers team on Monday night, and then close out the road trip in Cleveland. Like we will find out. I'd say 2-1 on this trip is really where you want to be, because I think Charlotte and Cleveland are winnable games. You can just split. If you split the back-to-back, Charlotte or Philly, like if you win either of those games, you can call it good. 1-2 is not a nightmare. Do not freak out. It's not going to feel good if they come back, at 4-5, but like, or 4-4 rather, but it's 2-1 is where you want to be. Like you want to put yourself at 2-1 and come back to and play a challenging back-to-back when you get back. Like that's the goal here is get 2 out of 3. And if you get 2 out of 3, you put yourself in a good spot and we can feel good about it. Here's the thing. We'll have shows after every game. Sunday night show will be a recap of that Hornets game. Monday, we'll recap that Philly game. Tuesday, Jason Quick is going to join the show. Jason is going to try to join the show every week this year. We are going to make this a thing where Jason is on the show often. He's my good friend and the best reporter covering the team. I want to have him on here and share his insight with you. So if you haven't listened to my most recent episode, I was in an interview with Jason Quick. He's going to try to come back weekly. Hopefully I'll be able to add some more interviews in there too, but you can pin it down that each week we'll have Jason Quick of The Athletic, schedules permitting, but most weeks we'll have Jason Quick of The Athletic on the show. So make sure you're looking forward to that. It should be a lot of fun. I always enjoy chatting with Jason. So fun week ahead. So we'll have those 2 recap shows. We'll have an interview. Then the Blazers play Wednesday night. So Thursday show will be a recap show. That means Friday, heading into Friday show, recording on Thursday will be mailbag. So if you have mailbag questions, at Mike G. Rich on Twitter, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. Send them in to me because I'll be recording that show Thursday of next week. That's a packed week. I love the NBA schedule. It is relentless and comes every night. Blazers played well. Now they get big tests. I can't wait to see what they look like. Do me a favor, go subscribe to the show on YouTube and also tell your friends about it. Tell them they can get it on YouTube and wherever they get podcasts. Just search Locked On Blazers. We'll be there waiting for you. Appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon.